Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 2024-2025 High School Program of Studies evening with high school staff and Grover Middle School parents. Welcome, and we have a whole host of people here this evening to talk with you about the exciting opportunities that await you in high school. And we have our school counselors here to answer some frequently asked questions. We know that you will have a lot of questions. This morning, I had the opportunity to talk with your children at school about the same opportunities with abbreviated version. And just for a few housekeeping items, we are recording tonight's Zoom webinar, and I would say likely by the end of the week or early next week, we will have a link in the program of studies page on the district website that if you wanted to, you could go back and watch this. There will also be a link. It will be linked in our district YouTube channel. I believe that takes about a week to process. So you can certainly look out for that. And the presentation that we'll be sharing tonight will also be as an attachment, listed as an attachment on the website. So you are welcome to take notes, and I encourage you to do that and continue the conversation at home about everything that's covered here tonight. Ask any questions that you have, or write down any questions that you may have. But this is not your only opportunity and your only exposure, and you certainly do not have to take notes because you'll have access to all of these slides and all of the information that we present here tonight. Also, we have the question and answer is available on the webinar. So if you want to type a question in, again, I encourage you to do that. We are not going to stop along the way for Q&A because we have a lot of people to talk about a lot of content, but we will get to the questions, the frequently asked questions. I have a recording also separately going of the questions and answers that we are giving. So if there's questions that we don't get to tonight, or if you think that it's a question that's more specific to your child, then I encourage you to follow up with the school counselors, either the high school counselors or the middle school counselor. So without further ado, I am going to get started here with our presentation. Okay, so we've got our pirate on there. Welcome to our night. Go ahead and we can get ready on the next slide. Okay, so we're going to talk about general high school transition tonight, go over the course requirements, graduation requirements, talking about choice and option 2, hear from each one of our supervisors about information for each of their departments, give you a little coming attraction about our extracurricular opportunities, and then talk a little bit about how to plan for success in high school and also do the question and answer period. Okay. So we know the transition to high school comes with a lot of excitement. It sometimes comes with a little bit of nervousness around so many choices. And so we like to remind students and families that the transition to high school is a collaborative process. You see a lot of the supervisors here tonight, our school administration, our district administration, all of our school counselors, both at the middle school and the high school. Certainly, I can be a resource, and we want to work with you. We know that there can be a sense of pressure that we put on in thinking about, and I'll talk a little bit about planning backwards, which sometimes increases some of those feelings of angst or worry about this process. But we are here with you, and just want to remind you that we will answer the questions. Also, reminder that this is a process. It's not a one-time thing. We're here to help you establish relationships with your high school counselors, with our supervisory and administrative team, so that all of your children can be successful in high school. So we plan to communicate a lot. One of the ways that we do that the most frequently is through our school messenger platform. So I would imagine that just about everybody who is here tonight saw that we send emails. So we do that through Kia Bergman, our director of communications. We also will be posting things to the website. We keep that updated. The school's websites, we can push out to that as well. So keep a look at that. And then we always encourage students and families to join the Google Classroom because the counselors keep that updated a lot. They look out for announcements. So when you join the Google Classroom, almost sometimes can feel like overload, but if you see, you can sign up for the notifications that when new information is posted in those Google Classrooms, that you get a copy of that in your email. And then we like to remind everyone to really take a look, and I talked to the students this morning about this. We'll continue to message this, but it's sometimes it bears repeating as many times as we can, is remember that we are all still human beings, and that there are still only 24 hours in the day. And so when we think about planning for what kinds of courses tonight, we're focusing on what is your coursework going to look like for next year, and thinking about what kinds of classes, what specific courses you're interested in, areas that you want to try out, because we have so many exciting courses in our high school that you want to think about how much of any one thing can I commit to each item, and that includes your academic, social, extracurricular, and I always say family time, and anything that happens outside, that you do as a household is still extremely important in terms of extracurricular. And also making sure and not letting things like good sleep hygiene, good nutrition, diet and exercise fall off in all of this as well. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so high school graduation requirements. And I like to say these are the minimum graduation requirements. We do have a total of 120 that are required for graduation. And language arts and health and phys ed are the two that are 4-year requirements. Math, you can see on here, 15 credits, and credits are just another unit of measurement. So most full year classes are 5 credits, and half year classes are 2.5 credits. So when we see 15 credits up there, that's 3 years. Same thing with science. And again, these are minimum requirements. Nearly all of our students do end up taking 4 years of math. Many take 4 years of science. So you can go above and beyond that. These are just the minimum. Social studies, 15 credits, and that's split out into 1 year of world history, 2 years of United States history. Financial literacy is its own standalone requirement, 2.5 credits. Health and phys ed are split up, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later, but every year students get 1 marking period of health. That's why you see the 1.25 and the 3.75, and then 5 credits. I like to especially point this out, that again, with the minimums, 5 credits in visual and performing arts, 5 credits in the 21st century and careers. But again, we encourage students to take more credits in those areas because they're of high interest and really exciting opportunities that we have in the school for those subjects. And then 10 credits or 2 years of world language. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so these are our 9th grade courses. You'll see most things are decided for students in 9th grade, and you do have 1 elective. So we take those, we always line everybody up for the 5 required or 6 required classes. So the core courses plus phys ed and health. And you'll hear more about the leveling and section choices and typical pathways, different options from the supervisors. Everyone has lunch. Everyone has a study hall. Everyone's scheduled for that. And then that elective period. So that can look like 1 5-credit class, or it could be 2 2.5 credit classes, depending on what the students select. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, honors course entrance criteria. So new this year is using having trimesters instead of marking periods. So the honors course criteria will be based on first and second trimester averages in the appropriate prerequisite course, and a slight difference for the percentage, the average that needs to be for 80% for IRLA, social studies, world language, science, and algebra 1, and then 70% for algebra 1 honors or H&A algebra 2. And then there's some other specific information really too, but we encourage everyone to read the program of studies. Again, that is published on our website. There will be a QR code coming soon on one of these slides, but again, you don't have to scan it now. You could certainly go back to doing that. It's also searchable on the website if you're having a hard time finding it, but there's a lot of really important information. It is downloadable as a PDF, so you can have a copy of that. If you're someone who still likes to have pen and paper with you, you're welcome to print that. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the review process, if a student is not initially does not initially qualify for an honors level class, you can see we look at other standardized assessment. What are the common assessment scores? And you'll see some of this is really for students who are already in high school. The review, obviously, we won't have a PSAT or AP potential, but we do have New Jersey. The state assessments, the NJSLA, and we have common assessment scores that go into it, other department specific assessments that have taken place. And so the supervisors will take a look at that. So there'll be some more information about that. There also is a little bit more explanation of this review process, again, in the program of studies, but you'll see a lot of our students do qualify for honors and can choose that easily. Okay. Next slide. Okay, we have the digital program of study. So here, if we'll just pause on this slide, if there is anyone who wants to catch that QR code, but we have the district website. You go to departments, it's under counseling that you see here in the screenshot, then high school counseling and program of studies. So there, and really everything you need to know, you can bookmark it. You can also, like I said, download. These are all of the documents that we're talking about, including the 8th grade scheduling booklet that your children did get a hard copy of today at school. So if you haven't seen that come out of a backpack, you might want to ask where that is and ask them to bring it home. We did print them for everyone, and they have a really good worksheet in them as well that I'll just stop and kind of mention and talk a little bit more about in terms of planning. But everything that we did in print is available for you to download and look at digitally as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, so let's talk process of how is this happening? So we're here tonight. That's in the official kickoff of the scheduling timeline, and we will open Genesis through the parent portal, open the opportunity to select electives on February 7th. So that's next week. We do have between February 7th, our high school counselors will be coming back to the middle school to meet individually to confirm course requests. So with students, and that will be in late March, right before spring break. So we have about 6.5 weeks between when the portal opens and when we confirm or finalize students' elective choices. So your homework, that's not a bullet on here, but maybe it should be, your homework is, as a family, to talk with your children, talk with them, read through the program of studies, ask them about what they're thinking about, and have those conversations. There's no benefit, this is not, elective choices are not first come, first serve in terms of like who selects them in the portal. There is a prioritizing of seniors to freshmen, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be the first person to have your information in the parent portal in order to get something. So, but we do like to say, also don't wait till the last minute, because you want to be clear that what you're have had that conversation, because the conversation will be between between the counselors and your children at school in that 3rd week of March. Okay. And Cindy, can you go back one? Yep. Okay. And then course change. So there is an opportunity. So we solidify those elective choices. We do ask that everyone make a first choice and second choice for electives, because like I said, they are prioritized for seniors down through freshmen. So it's not always possible for students to get their first choice elective. So they have an alternative. And then there is an opportunity in August. It's a 2-week opportunity to say you want to make a change. Again, we like to have those conversations. This is the time to make these decisions. We tried so our staffing is based, and our number of sections of each course is based on what you tell us in February and March what you want to take. So the danger in making a change to your elective course or wanting a change to your elective course in August is that you can only change if there's a seat available in that course. And so we aren't changing who's teaching what and how many sections of anything we're running. So if you want to take a class, you need to tell us that now. And that's why these conversations and your homework with is so important, to make sure that you feel secure with the choices that you're making. And then no elective choices are made after that. Okay. Yep, didn't go to level changes. Okay, so level changes for ninth grade only. And this you'll see, and we will be messaging this over and over again. I think one of the counselors said we should really probably take out space on a billboard on Route 1 to advertise this change. But for level changes for ninth grade only, that there can be level changes. Now, the multi-level classes that have the CP and honors classes, the good news is the leveling down is something like you're in the same class. And so taking a look at, do I want the honors? Do I want CP is a little bit different than before we had the multi-level classes. But knowing that the transition to ninth grade is significant and that it's hard to predict exactly what it's going to feel like in ninth grade. For ninth graders only, there will be a deadline of October 15th, which does give a little bit of time to say that the level, it doesn't feel right. And obviously, anytime we make a change like that, or you're thinking about it, we get the whole team of stakeholders together, including family, and obviously the students, and talk with the counselor, the teachers, the supervisors who you're gonna meet tonight about what feels uncomfortable. Is this right? Like, what else is coming? Sometimes we see level change requests in both directions. So it's not uncommon for students to be a little nervous or have one assessment that wasn't quite up to snuff at the beginning, and they might panic that the workload is too much. And that really bears the need for a conversation about, well, what will it look like? And that's when our teachers and our supervisors are the most knowledgeable. They know what's coming down the pike in terms of the rigor and whether the students should kind of try to stick it out in the honors level, or perhaps like CP would be a better fit for them. And there is one level change limit per subject per year. So again, that's part of why there's some wiggle room here. We want to make sure we can't have people flip-flopping from honors to CP throughout the year, but there is a little bit of breathing room that you're not locked in on the first day of school. Okay, next slide. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Ms. Krebeling, who's going to talk about language arts.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's nice to, well, I was going to say it's nice to see everyone, but I can't actually see any of you, but it's nice to have all of you here with us tonight. So my name is Emily Krebeling. I'm the language arts supervisor from grades 6 to 12. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what language arts looks like at the high school level, particularly when you're thinking about your 8th grade student transitioning into 9th grade. So at the 9th grade level, we're having students continue the rigorous work from 8th grade when we're thinking about reading, writing, speaking, and listening. One of the things that we aim to do with our 9th grade curriculum is we really want to inspire students to think critically about the world around them and to think about their role in that world. And so to that end, our units are put together and comprised thematically. So some of the units that we have a unit around success, one on personal growth and transformation, friendship, family. So sort of touching on these really kind of larger themes. And then they're set up where we have a primary class text that all students are reading. And then that primary class text is supplemented with a variety of auxiliary texts around that same theme. So some poems, some short stories, nonfiction articles, multimedia, so artwork, documentaries, films, with our goal being that we want our students to sort of explore the theme, the idea, don't teach the book, teach the student. So that's what you can sort of expect when you're thinking about the language arts for both honors and college prep. When we're thinking about the difference from college prep to honors, that really comes in two places. One comes in the complexity of the auxiliary text that students will be reading. So for all of our units, there will be one primary class text, as I mentioned before, but with those auxiliary texts that are bolstering students' understanding of that theme, students who opt into the honors curriculum will be expected to choose more consistently and frequently from a body of auxiliary texts that are significantly more challenging. This doesn't mean that they won't get support or that the learning won't be scaffolded. It just means that they'll be required to sort of immerse themselves into content that is like a little deeper and a little more challenging again. The second place where we'll see some a difference between the language arts college prep and the honors curriculum is when we look at the final assessments. All of the students will be expected to complete the same assessment at the end of the unit. But for those students who are honors, it may be tweaked just a little bit. So for example, if it's a written assessment, those honor students will be expected to bring in those more challenging texts. They may be required to add in an additional argument or a counter argument and a rebuttal. They may be expected to discuss literary devices or writing techniques or author's crafts that are significantly or slightly more challenging to discuss or write about in an essay or a written piece. But again, the goal is for all of the students in the classroom to have similar exposure to the same theme and to the same pieces of writing that would allow students to explore that theme both in the world around them and in their own relationship to it. I think it's also important to point out that the MAP testing that your students currently take in middle school in their language arts classes will continue through the 9th grade, where they'll take the MAP test 3 times a year. And lastly, we have our journalism elective that also falls under language arts. So that's also a multi-level elective. So really kind of inspiring students to consider, analyze, and seek to improve the world they see around them. So whether that's their school, their neighborhood, their community, their country, or the world. So beginning students in journalism focus on reading and writing about news, sports, and the arts, with an entire unit devoted to the expression of personal opinions on like a range of topics. Whereas intermediate and advanced students would continue to hone their reporting and writing skills while also producing a website in class. And really kind of working and contributing more towards the editorial board for the 2 school newspapers, the Nightly News and the Pirate's Eye. So for those intermediate and advanced students, that work would happen in the classroom. And then for our print versions, a lot of that work that goes into those school newspapers also happens on the extracurricular level in our journalism club. That's our language arts options in a nutshell here. I'm gonna pass it over now to my colleague, Dr. Ashley Warren, who can talk a little bit about foreign language.
Thanks, Ms. Krebling.
I'm sorry, world language.
That's okay, thanks. As Ms. Krebling said, my name is Ashley Warren, and I am the very proud supervisor of our World Language Department. We are home to a model program for K-12 World Language Education in the state of New Jersey, and we're very proud of that. Your child in the middle school level has had the option when they entered 6th grade of 4 languages. Those 4 language options do continue in the high school. So if your child had 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, French, Chinese, or German, they're eligible to go right into French 2, Chinese 2, and German 2 at the high school level. If your child had 6th grade Spanish, 7th grade Spanish, and 8th grade Spanish, they're eligible for Spanish College Prep 3 or Spanish 3 honors. If your child had less than 3 years of Spanish, they are able to go into Spanish 2. Similarly, if they need a review of the beginning principles of Spanish or in consultation with their current teacher or their guidance counselor or their case manager, they think that a refresher on some of the more novice level principles of Spanish would be helpful, Spanish 2 would be a great option for your child. Dr. Assini, can we have that next slide? Thank you so much. If your child would like to begin a new language in the high school, we do offer 2 beginning language choices. We offer Spanish 1 and French 1. So that is to say, if your child just took 3 years of German with Frau and is ready for something new, we do have Spanish 1 and French 1 as options at the high school. This next bullet is a bit interesting. You'll be getting a follow-up letter from me in the coming weeks that explains what it means to take a proficiency test. So students who wish to switch to a language in which they have prior proficiency and have not taken that language in middle school. So for example, if you speak Chinese at home or your child speaks Chinese through language courses outside of the school, but they've never taken Chinese and WWP before, now's their chance. And they can test into the appropriate level Chinese class. So that letter will be coming home to all rising 9th grade families and 9th graders. It will also be sent to counselors at both the 8th grade and 9th grade level so that students know that they can take a placement test. But again, that test is only available if you've never taken that language in school. So if you've never taken Chinese in school, but you happen to speak Chinese, or you've never taken German in school, but you happen to speak German at home, great. Now's your chance to take a placement test, and we'll make sure you get into a level that has enough support and provides enough of a challenge for your current proficiency level. Finally, in coordination with the child study team and or your child's counselor, you may take a course entitled Introduction to Spanish Communication and Culture, which is a portfolio-based class, and the class offers a high degree of support to students who need support in language study. So I'm very excited to answer your questions. Please reach out to me should you like to discuss any of the options that your child has. You will be receiving a letter about taking a placement test should you wish to place into a language you've never studied before. And I just want to say in closing, the best person to help your child make their choices, if they're really thinking like, ooh, should I switch to a new language, or am I going into Spanish 3, or should I try for 3 honors? I know my eligibility, but what's a good fit for me? If you don't happen to speak that language at home and you can't really gauge other than the grade how your child's doing, talking to your child's current teacher is a really great way. So encourage your child to speak to their current teacher. You yourself can feel free to reach out. I'm also happy to connect you with your child's teacher because they will be able to help you think through what would be a class that has enough support and also a healthy amount of challenge for your child. So, xie, merci, danke, and gracias. Dr. Stack.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. Hello, everyone. I'm Rich Steck. I'm the District Supervisor of Science at West Windsor-Plainsboro School District. As you know, I'm here to talk about something I'm extremely passionate about. It's not just science, but it's about planning your child's high school science career. We start off with an option, a choice, multi-level biology, in which both students' levels are experiencing a level of biology that is tailored for their needs, tailored for their thinking, tailored for what they want to explore most. It's been a very successful program where all students are able to explore the sciences, the life sciences especially, but also, most importantly, to engage in meaningful scientific discourse with every student with them. So while I'm not going to read every word on the slide, I will emphasize as you look at it and view it yourself that science is about the practices and learning a scientific mindset and a scientific process. It's not just about content. That's why I've cautioned students very carefully to experience the full year course with your teachers as your teachers roll out the curriculum for you. So studying ahead of time, viewing things and content the summer before, I'm going to counsel against that, but I will not say it's a bad idea to go out and make observations. If students want to go and take a look at nature, you want to take pictures, begin to journal, begin to note observations and inferences on their own. That's a great way to practice what they've been doing through K-8. Which is a spiraled experience in which every year they experience a little bit of physical science, a little bit of life science, and a little bit of earth science as they meld into what it means to be a scientist. How well can they analyze and interpret data? How well can they construct an explanation or design a solution to a problem? How well can they obtain, evaluate, and communicate information? So that's just 1/3 of the experiences relying on content for them to explain through their understanding of such an observable phenomenon, something that attracted their attention or raised a question. Hence the spiraling series of symbols that ultimately end up in a global experience in which all students experience all the standards. That's ideal, but being able to engage in science practices and enlighten their view of the world is the name of the game. As your child advances through their high school career, it's very, very important that they choose wisely the course content they wish to study most. While any science and engineering school will tell you at least 4 years of high school science is strongly recommended, it's also strongly suggested that they choose carefully. So if they wish to go into mechanics and engineering, they're going to choose courses like BC Calculus, Advanced Topics in Physics Honors, with the prerequisite of Physics Honors, Chemistry, or biology as they build up to those courses or those experiences rather, so that they can explain to a college application ultimately down the line, this is why I chose my high school career courses and this is what I want to do. Taking every single science course, while admirable, is not advisable, because again, that doesn't explain or help them choose wisely what they want to study most. How do we support our children to become the most they can be? That takes time. That definitely takes time. So as you continue to learn more about what's coming up this fall as your child enters high school, if you're a first-time high school parent, it's a wonderful and exciting time. And if you're a veteran high school parent, you already know there are counselors here ready for you that will work with you. I will certainly welcome any conversation regarding course selection and passionate pursuit of science disciplines. I am here for you. That is my job. We are educators, and we are here to support your child to help them be the best they can be. Next slide, please. New this year, this summer, we'll be offering a marine science course for 2.5 credits, which is designed for students to, again, pursue an area of science that we don't offer during the school year proper, but yet we can take advantage of that opportunity during the summer. It is a well-designed course that is still being written. We do have a frequently answered question sheet that is on the community education website, as well as an abstract for the course that will be taught for 5 weeks, beginning the week after 4th of July for 3 hours a day. Attendance is required. Grades are not numerical. Grades are based on their performance and the standards being experienced and the practices that your child's teacher, will give feedback on. And it is designed to give students a chance to explore a passion, explore an area of science that you might not be able to study otherwise. It is certainly encouraged that they consider courses like this and courses that will be discussed a little further in the presentation when Mrs. Andrea Bean takes the stage. But it's very, very important that the summer experience be designed not to circumvent the program of studies, but to enhance the program of studies, and there's much more to that coming up soon. So if you'd like to reach out, I'd be happy to engage with you in a great conversation about what's best for your child. I'll help you make those important decisions. We'll talk about career options if you need to do that, but it's most important for the incoming 9th grade students to get firmly rooted in the high school experience, not just in science, but everywhere, because it's just a fleeting 4 years which we grow a young adult. So thank you very much for your time. It's great to be on this talk with all of you. And now I'm going to transition to my colleague in social studies, Dr. Cindy Assini.
Good evening. Welcome to High School South. We're excited to share about our options in social studies with you and excited to be helping you and your child through this transition to an exciting time of their life. So as Ms. Medley mentioned, in social studies, we have world history as the course that typically students take in 9th grade. So world history starts around the Renaissance. This year, we actually started with a theme of human rights prior to the Renaissance. The idea for social studies is that we want to build social scientists. So Dr. Steck talked about students observing phenomena. In social science, we're looking at sources and we're asking students to analyze those sources. So there's a lot of overlap with both science and literacy in what we want students to do. It's really practicing those reading and writing skills with the content of history and current events. So we want students to understand current events through learning the history. We want to get students excited about understanding the world today. And we do that through reading a number of different types of sources, including primary sources. For those of you who are wondering where your child might fit in terms of CP or honors, again, it's a multi-level course. So they'll have this year until October 15th to finalize that decision with their teacher in 9th grade. Once they get to high school and they start understanding the rigors of their schedule the impacts of their extracurricular choices, and the totality of the transition. So in terms of the differences between the two classes, I'm going to echo much of what Ms. Krevling said about the difference being in complexity. We want to expose both students in CP and honors to that rigorous high school work. We also want to provide them with the appropriate supports and scaffolds in both CP and honors. So what that might look like, let's take a primary source on the Haitian Revolution. We might give students an excerpt if they're taking CP, and then we might expose students in honors to the entire primary source and encourage them to cite additional sections of that primary source in their assessment, for example. So students are going to be learning the same content. There's going to be a greater complexity if your child has signed on to the honors section, and we want them to work more independently. So, as students are progressing through high school social studies, we're preparing them for college level work in social science. So with that will come increasing levels of independent research and writing and historical thinking. If a student is taking honors at the 9th grade level, they'll be practicing that in that year. Again, in both courses, we do want students to have appropriate scaffolds and supports. We also want students to select the level that they think is going to most likely help them transition successfully without too much stress to high school. So if you're wondering which class your child should take, I'm going to echo what Dr. Warren said. Please encourage your child to talk with their 8th grade teacher. Please also feel free to reach out to their 8th grade teacher as well. If you would like to reach out to me, I'd be happy to talk with you. Again, the people who work the closest with your child, including their 8th grade teachers and counselors, are really in a great position to advise your child about the best way to approach the honors, the transition, the honors and CP question from their experience in 8th grade. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm excited to help your child learn about history and current events at High School South, and we really appreciate your time this evening. I'm going to pass along to Ms. Bean, who is the supervisor of mathematics.
Well, hi, and welcome to High School South. So exciting. I personally started at High School South like way too many years ago. It's a really great place for kids to go to school, and it's a really awesome place to learn math. So let's talk about what kind of math is available for your children. In 9th grade, students are enrolled in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Algebra 2 honors, or Geometry honors and accelerated if they are eligible. So let's talk about the different options and what might be best for your kids. So if your child is in Math 8, they automatically get rolled into Algebra 1. You really don't have a choice there because Algebra 1, as you saw in Ms. Smedley, is a graduation requirement. So they have to take it. Every child in New Jersey must take a full year Algebra 1 course. Algebra, if they are in Algebra 1 now as an 8th grader, if they're in Algebra 1 college prep, they roll into Algebra 2 college prep. If they're in Algebra 1 honors, they roll into Algebra 2 honors. That's what you'll see in Genesis. Most of the time, that's the best course for them, but not always. So if your child has, I usually say rule of thumb, about a 75% or lower in their course. So if you are in Algebra 1 honors right now, and you have a 75 or lower by the end of the 2nd trimester, where that's when you get their 2nd report card, you might want to think about pursuing the college prep level next year. Our high school grading profile is slightly different than our middle school grading profile. So there's an adjustment period there. So kids might want to think about that. Plus, if you have a 75 or so, your skills might not be ready to be built on as quickly and as much. So you might want to take that little bit of slower pace for 9th grade. If you are in college prep in 9th grade, you can still be eligible for honors in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, depending on how well you do. So you might want to take that step. If you are in Algebra 1 college prep and you have a 75 or lower, you might want to think about repeating Algebra 1. Algebra fluency is the #1 indicator of success later in math. So it's really important that the algebra foundation is firm. This is why the SAT removed about 10, 12 years ago, removed a lot of the geometry and made 2/3 of the test the heart of algebra, because that's the indicator of success. So you really want to make sure that your child's in a class where they will learn and feel successful. So again, if you're in Algebra 1 college prep and you're, just making that C, you might want to rethink retaking Algebra 1. Colleges never see your 8th grade report card. There's no transcript in 8th grade. So as far as colleges are concerned, you would be taking it for the first time and doing well and building a transcript that you can be proud of grade-wise. So it is definitely something to think about. If your child is in geometry, honors and in Algebra 2, honors and accelerated right now, they are entered into geometry honors and accelerated if they have a C average. If they do not, they have to retake Algebra 2 next year. But a lot of our H&A kids opt to just take geometry honors instead of the honors and accelerated, and they can do that. The honors and accelerated course is really hardcore for those kids that really love math. And honestly, geometry honors and accelerated and geometry honors are weighted the same on a college transcript. So there's really no advantage in that realm for taking it. I mean, obviously the honors and accelerated, we're going to enrich more and do some really cool math. But if your child says, I don't want to be so hardcore math, I'd rather play some sports, join some clubs, and I might not have the time to commit to the class that I did in middle school, then maybe they want to take geometry honors instead. So again, there's a lot of choices in there. Most people, the very next course in the sequence is the one that's right for you. And if you have questions, your child's math teacher looks at their math work every day. They're the ones that know exactly how they're doing mathematically. The math teacher is really the best person to talk to if you have questions about placement. So on the next slide, you're going to see the math sequence. And because a lot of people ask, well, where is it going and what are we doing? So you can see, go from like an Algebra 1 course in 8th grade or Math 8 or Algebra 2. In 8th grade, Algebra 1 and Algebra 1 honors, well, actually in 7th grade, Math 7 and Math 7 honors, they're taught as multi-level classes. And so to help the transition from 8th to 9th grade, Algebra 2 and Algebra 2 honors is taught also as a multi-level class, just the way they're learning this year. When they get to 10th grade and they either have to choose geometry or geometry honors, those are taught separately. That's when we separate the honors track from the college prep sequence. And so that's the time. Up until then, they are taught in the same class at the same time because, as children learn and grow, we want to give them as much flexibility as possible. What you can see is everybody has an opportunity to take a calculus course, and that is rigorous. And let me tell you, the United States, if you complete Algebra 2, you are in the top 40% of the country. So our kids, no matter what math course they're in, do well and are competitive for college admissions, for math learning, for STEM fields. We have a really great program that we're proud of, and your child will be in great hands no matter what math course they're in. Our goal is to always get them challenged in learning, but not so overwhelmed that their struggles become non-productive. So again, we always want them challenged in learning, and no matter what sequence they're in, they have a great future. We're not holding anybody back. So that said, let's talk about the next slide, which is our summer math course. I already saw in the questions and answers a lot about option 2, which is something you can do over the summer, but we'll get to that in more detail later in the program. But what I recommend in lieu of option 2, instead of option 2, is our summer math courses. I'd like to make a little note here that it's really July 8th to August 2nd. So that the dates on the slide are wrong there, but it is 4 weeks. And here's the thing, you can't learn a whole year of math in a summer, but we believe you can learn a half a year of math in a summer. So to give our kids real options to show colleges their passion and to pursue their love of learning, we're offering some summer courses that aren't traditionally found in our high school program. These are for kids that want to learn math over and above, that want to show their passion, that want to pursue maybe a different kind of math that's not the traditional geometry and algebra. So for ninth graders, every student that's in eighth grade now that will be entering ninth grade next year is eligible for Introduction to Data Science. It doesn't matter what eighth grade math course you're in, you can take Introduction to Data Science for 4 weeks. We meet at High School South. You have to be there every day. Attendance is a very important part of how you are graded. Because we need to be able to give you the hours and the credits. So you have to be there every day. Data science is one of the biggest growing fields in the United States. So what a great way to introduce kids to this different type of math. And maybe this is what will ignite their passion or help them. For kids who have completed an Algebra 2 course, which are H&A kids or your child when they're in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, we have an introduction to discrete math. And discrete math is amazing. That is the math of really like finding pathways, counting things, and looking at algorithms. So we talk a lot about like how your GPS works and all that kind of stuff. We do some fractals. It's really awesome math courses. So the courses are 2.5 credits. So they count like as a half a year of math. You can take them 3 consecutive summers. And they count towards your GPA, which you will find out that option 2 does not. So these can really help you because they are WWP courses. They go on your transcript as a WWP course, 2.5 credits that count towards your GPA in the summer. They are $500 each course. You may not option 2 math if you are taking a summer math course. So be really careful about that. You can only take 1 course in the summer. So, choose wisely, choose ours. And they are through community education, and community education will be opening the FAQs and the registration on February 1st. Last year we did have a waiting list. It didn't happen really fast, but by April-ish, we started to have to put kids on a waiting list. So think about our summer math courses and then go on community ed, find out about them. And if you think this is a great thing for your child, please sign them up. Thanks. Oh, next is Mr. Santoro, our visual and performing arts.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to High School South Program of Studies Night. As you have heard over the last several presentations here, there is a robust offering of courses at the high school level here in West Windsor-Plainsboro, and that is also the case with the visual and performing arts. We offer courses in all 4 of the arts areas. That is something that very few schools in the state do. So that's something that we're very proud of. And I'm going to briefly take a few minutes here to talk through each of our fine and performing arts departments and what the offerings are for next year's 9th graders for your children. So we'll start with the art department. We have 2 courses that are available to 9th graders. One is called Art Foundation, and one is called Computer Art and Design. The Art Foundation course is one that your child is probably already very familiar with. This is a high school level version of what they've done in middle school, both through the art cycle program that everyone takes 30 days or 30-ish days of art each year in middle school, but also if your child took art elective in either 7th and 8th grade, Art Foundation is the 9th grade version of that. It's a survey course. You get exposure to all different types of making art. And that is really a springboard class to help students decide where they want to go next in their visual art journey through high school. Computer Art and Design is an art class, teaches all the same skills and fundamental learnings in art, but instead of using a canvas and paint or a paper and a pencil, it uses the computer as the medium for creating the artwork. So the way I like to explain the difference between these 2 classes is they're both wonderful places for students to start in the high school. If your child is interested in art and thinks artistically, but is a little bit intimidated because maybe they don't see themselves as being a great drawer or painter, computer art and design can be a great option to start off their high school journey. So those are the two visual art offerings for ninth graders. We're going to move on to dance. So this is the next year will be the third year we've had a dance program at the high school. So this is a fairly new experience for us. It's going really well. We have a dynamic teacher, a great program. We have an offering for ninth graders called Dance One. There is something new for this coming year that I want everyone to be aware of. If your child has dance experience, we are going to have a portfolio audition process for students to get into a higher level of dance if they can demonstrate a high level of foundation that they may have from dancing outside of school for many, many years. So you can get more information about that from your guidance counselor, but Dance One is a course open for all students, whether they have experience or not. So that's something, if your student's interested in dance, you can consider for next year. All right, we're going to move on to music. So the first three courses you see listed here, concert band, chorale, and string ensemble, are basically the high school versions of band, chorus, and orchestra. So if your student is currently in the band in 8th grade, or in the chorus in 8th grade, or in orchestra in 8th grade, these would be the corresponding courses at the high school that they would take if they want to stay in that program, and we would encourage them to do that. Music theory is a course open to all high school students, and it teaches the theory of music, a little bit of composition, a little bit of arranging, understanding the why behind the music that the kids play. And Music Technology One is a course for students who are very interested in music, but maybe don't play a band instrument or an orchestra instrument, or don't want to sing in a choir. It's a course that is heavy on composition and learning how to create music, and they use the computer as the foundation for that course. So Music Technology One, another great option for ninth graders. And we will round things out with our theater program. So Theater Arts One is our level 1 high school ninth grade course for theater. This is a great course for any student who was in a middle school play or a middle school musical, or has done any theater outside of the school. This is a great place for them. It's also a great place for students who want to just become more comfortable speaking in front of public, speaking in public, speaking in front of other people. It is a theater class, but there's a lot of exposure to just being comfortable in front of groups of people and speaking in groups. So theater arts is a wonderful opportunity for high school students who are either interested in acting and being on stage, or just interested in public speaking, to really get a good foundation in theater. So those are the 4 arts areas. Those are the courses we offer for ninth graders. And I just want to say one more thing at the end. You heard earlier in the presentation about graduation requirements. Certain content areas have certain credits you have to achieve, and you only need to take 1 year of an arts area class to graduate. However, many of our students take these courses all 4 years of high school. That's a common question I get from 8th grade parents. It is possible to take any of these courses all 4 years. A lot of our students do that, and it just like it was said earlier, that many of our students go beyond the graduation requirements for the other content areas. Many of our students do the same for the visual and performing arts. So if you have any questions about any of these courses, you can always have your students ask their teachers that they have now at the middle school, or you can reach out to me and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has. So thank you for being here tonight, and I will turn it back to Mrs. Smedley for the next part of the conversation.
Great, thanks. So I am actually stepping in. Dr. Ray was not available to join us here tonight, and much to his chagrin, but I told him I would be the shepherd for his program here. So he is the supervisor of 21st century career courses and some of these other departments, computer science. So he has a great QR code here. This is one I would definitely, if you have a phone available, go ahead and take a snap of that. Otherwise, come back to this one, because there is so much good information. He has a Google site that he maintains that has information and descriptions of each one of these courses that you see up on the screen, as well as some videos and lots of marketing. Actually, the students in some of these classes have done some of this work in the website building. So if you have, this is an area certainly where high school is different than middle school, and opportunities to take a lot of high interest classes, give something new a try. Certainly, our computer science classes are very popular, but I encourage you to take a look at all of these and use his marketing strategies. So, okay, I'm going to pass it to Mr. Cooper, who is going to talk about our English language learning program.
Thanks, Jessica. So just welcome to the South program. South is an amazing school, wonderful people, and the Pirate Pride is amazing. Your kids are really lucky to be here. So if your child is currently enrolled in our English language learning program, they can continue that at High School South. So this program is for students who are developing language proficiency for English. And we do have a number of courses at the high school level for your son or daughter. One of them I like to talk about is a high intensity ELL course. You'll see that it's proficiency based. We would work with your child's current English language learning teacher and find the appropriate placement. And students would have 2 periods a day in the high intensity course that would fulfill the English graduation requirement and the world language graduation requirement. So we can definitely work with your child, with your counselor, and with the English language learning teachers to find the appropriate placement for your son or daughter. We also have ELL courses that support students in social studies and science. So for world history, the 9th grade course, we also have sections that would have support with the English language learning teacher. And so the teacher would be in the classroom and provide support to make modifications and help your son or daughter develop not only understanding about world history, but also develop their English reading, writing, speaking, listening skills. We also have 2 options in the science, either a Science 1 ELL course or biology ELL. In both of those cases, we do have English language learning teachers to support students. Finally, our last course in the program for 9th graders is the English language learning tutorial. This is instead of the study hall that every student takes at High School South. Instead of going to the study hall that would be held with dozens and dozens of kids, this would be a small tutorial section for students in the ELL program to get support, to work on language skills, and also some workplace readiness skills. So if you do have any questions about it, please reach out to me and I can support you as you make decisions for your child. Cindy, please. I also want to talk about another important program that we have at High School South. The program is called AVID, Advancement via Individual Determination. This is an elective course that would also take place during the study hall, and students would participate in AVID for all 4 years. So we have a 9th grade AVID section, 10th grade AVID section, 11th through 12th. And students would stay together as a same cohort of students throughout 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. This is a course to help students develop college preparation. We do have mentor opportunities for our AVID students. We do explicitly work on organization skills and writing strategies. We do college campus visits. We just recently went to Ryder, for instance. We do develop team building skills, communication activities, and we are a cohort of learners that are just committed to academic success. Cindy, could you please? Thanks. So there's a QR code here that would give you access to a flyer. In the flyer, we have a PowerPoint presentation about AVID. We also have the Google form to express interest in it. AVID is a program designed for students who have a desire to attend college and a willingness to undertake a really rigorous preparation for college. In 8th grade, 7th grade, middle school student, perhaps they have been a B.C. student. They've done well, but perhaps they went to develop some more support to prepare them for college. Students in the AVID program would have a strong attendance record, and they're often going to fulfill one or more of the following criteria. Maybe they belong to a group that's underrepresented in college. Perhaps there would be a first-generation college student or qualify for free or reduced lunch or come from a low-income background. And there are other special circumstances that might hinder a child's ability to attend college on their own, and they need some additional assistance. We are going to be sharing some information about this. We'll have a video that will be released to families soon. We'll be sharing that with kids as well. And we'll be setting up opportunities for people to meet with counselors and to talk about the AVID program. So thank you very much.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I am Kate Dobinson. I am the co-supervisor of Health and PE at High School South, and I'm also the athletic director. I'm going to be talking about our comprehensive health and physical education program with you tonight. All of our students take 3/4 of PE and 1/4 of health or driver's ed, depending on the year that they're in. Our 10th grade students will be getting ready to get their driver's license. So that's when driver's ed will be part of their program there. Our physical education program is really dedicated to providing an environment where we teach students meaningful, enjoyable lifetime activities. We really want to focus on the importance of being active and moving and trying different activities out there so that they can have a long and healthy life. Our students are also going to be taking part in traditional team sports, as well as I mentioned, units that focus on lifetime activities such as tennis, badminton, pickleball. We do archery, we do dance, and it's really focusing on increasing personal fitness, developing skills so that after they graduate and move on to life after High School South, they have the ability to balance their physical and mental health, because we see so many different connections between individuals who move and who are active, and how they respond to stress, levels of anxiety, and it just provides a really good foundation for mental health later on in life as well. Within the health quarter, as Ms. Medley said before, it is a quarter class. So that's where you get those decimal points in there as well when you're looking at the credits. But all of our students take a health course throughout their years. And this really focuses on developing positive relationships, positive decision-making. We discuss topics such as human relationships, substance abuse, and mental health to really prepare them for the next stage of life as they continue on. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, in 10th grade, our students will be participating in the state regulated driver's ed program that will prepare them to take the state written motor vehicle test, and then they'll be ready to be able to get their driver's permit. And this is a fast-paced class to really teach them the different skills and responsibilities that come with being a driver. We also provide and offer an elective known as sports medicine. In this course, students learn the roles that medicine plays in athletics. It is taught by one of our three certified athletic trainers. We have one at High School North and 2 over at High School South that will be teaching these courses. And then in addition, our health and PE department has developed a unified physical education class. And in this course, we are going to be immersing students with differing needs and disabilities to promote inclusion, caring for the greater need of the community while engaging in physical activity. Next slide, please. I also have the pleasure of speaking about our athletic program here at West Windsor-Plainsboro High School South. We are a member of the Colonial Valley Conference, and that is a group of 15 schools, including High School South, within the Mercer County area. We also participate within the Mercer County Tournament Association, and we are a member school of the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association, or the NJSIAA. I often get the question of why should students participate in athletics at WWP? And I just provide 4 kind of very simple bullet points here for you tonight. Students who participate in athletics typically see greater success in the classroom. It helps them develop healthy habits, sets a foundation for an active lifestyle. Our students develop skills that they may not necessarily get within their classroom, such as time management. There's the need to balance their schedule, their schoolwork, their practice schedule, and game schedule. But it also teaches them leadership skills, teamwork, determination, grit, being able to kind of move forward after a loss of a game. And while those things may seem small in the moment, it really does set you up with being able to have resiliency as you move through life. It creates a sense of belonging and being part of something that's very positive for them. Next slide, please. We offer a variety of sports throughout the course of the year. We have 3 main seasons. Our fall sports are listed there. It is important to notice that our fall sports do begin in mid-August. And this is not a schedule that is set forth by the school district, but it's actually from the New Jersey, the NJSIAA. They are responsible for developing the seasons and when competition takes place. So because our competitions begin in early September, we also have preseason starting in mid to late August. Football and tennis are going to be starting the earliest, followed by the remainder of the sports. Our winter sports run from late November to late February, depending on how long they move through the championship and the state tournament process. We offer a variety of sports. We are very lucky in district to have a swimming pool at both of our high schools. So it makes our swimming program a great opportunity for students to participate in that. There's no traveling to other pools. Our spring sports begin in early March to late May. We do have a new offering for our spring sports. I'm pleased to announce that we are going to be starting a co-ed cricket program this coming spring. It is important to notice that this will not be part of the NJSIAA program because it is not a sanctioned sport through the state association. But West Windsor-Plainsboro is going to be pairing with other schools nearby to start that program. And this is going to be at the high school only. But we have a variety of different sports there. I do want to point out that our football program, our softball program, and our ice hockey program are cooperative sports programs, meaning they are comprised of students from high school south and high school north. And then that last little blurb at the end, it's really important to recognize that our athletic program does have games during winter and spring recess, as well as on Saturdays. It's a little bit different from the middle school schedule where they're going from Monday through Friday. We go Monday through Saturday. As I mentioned earlier, we come in at the end of August, and there's going to be practices on some of those days off. And we work with students if there's religious observances to make sure that there's a balance within students' lives and things like that. So if you have any questions about our athletic program or our health and PE program, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you. I'm going to pass it off to Andrea Bean. I believe who's going to talk about option 2. But while we're waiting for Miss Bean, oh, there we go.
Okay, thank you. I'm back. So I saw in the chat a lot of questions about option 2, what it was, how to sign up, what to do. And I also saw people saying, what is option 2? So first of all, thank you for not knowing about it, because option 2 came through the state, and we're required to offer alternate ways to receive high school credit in traditional high school courses. Originally, the intent of the state was to have an option 2 program as an option 2 towards graduation, because in some districts, there are students that have to work during the day, or how to take care of their families, and they need to take night classes or summer classes in order to graduate. And the state wanted to really make sure that these kids had opportunities to graduate high school, because in New Jersey, it's really important to the educators in our state that everyone has the opportunity to graduate high school. So option 2 is made for students who maybe couldn't attend school during the regular day or needed to attend a class in the summer to finish. However, because it is there, some people use it, not in the way it was intended, but they use it to skip high school courses. So for example, most of you have a child in Algebra 1 or Algebra 1 honors. And maybe next year you say, I would prefer them to be in geometry instead. So option 2, the way it works is you would sign them up at your own expense to try to learn 10 months of math in 6 weeks to skip Algebra 2 so that they could skip a year ahead. The one thing is, if you read that the school has to monitor this program. So the first thing we have to do is make sure that the providers meet the New Jersey standards and the certification of their teachers. And the other thing is we have to make sure that the students actually learned equivalent to what a 10-month student would learn. So we have a district exam. So your child takes the course, and then they come in August and they take a 2-hour exam to show their knowledge of the course. So that's what option 2 is. On the next slide, you'll see a lot of information about option 2. The first is a link to the option 2 website. It's on our district website under counseling. This is where you will find forms, you will find information, you will find courses that we know meet the New Jersey standards. So they're pre-approved. They are not approved in the sense that we approve of them being used, but they're pre-approved, meaning they meet the New Jersey standards, they meet the certification standards. If you find a course that you would prefer to take that is not on that list, you have to put that on your application, and the supervisor will look to see if it can be approved, if it meets those standards. And again, students have to take a WWP exam. The district assessments are on August the 12th and 19th. You must take them on those days because it does affect high school scheduling. I saw in the questions. We do not assume that your child is going to pass. So if your child's in Algebra 1, they will choose an Algebra 2 course next year. If they pass one of the exams, we will change their schedule after the exam. But in the meantime, we proceed as if they are not taking it. You may do one summer course per school year. Now, a lot of people asked if they could do, say, the summer math, like the intro to discrete math, and a different option 2. That's not recommended. Option 2 is a very large program. You're trying to learn 10 months of school in 6 to 8 weeks. That's all your child can do, is one option 2 course per school year, one per content area in their 4 years. You can't skip multiple math classes. You can't skip multiple social studies classes. You cannot skip multiple science classes. You can do one. If you are not successful, you will take the course in the fall, so you do not get a second chance at it. So you need to know that. Now, if you look at the next slide, this is our option 2 results, and you will see they're not great. A lot of people spend an entire summer, 6 weeks of their summer, and thousands of dollars for 30-40% passing rate. The computers, they do well because there's a very specific program, which I will tell you about in a minute, for computer programming. But in general, the courses, the passing is not great. As a matter of fact, I think the math might even be less than what you're seeing on there. So you want to really think about this, because here's the thing. You're asking your child to learn 10 months of material in 6 to 8 weeks to skip a class. right? So you're asking them to do something that is extremely difficult, because believe me, if our teachers could teach more in 10 months, they certainly would, right? So when they don't pass, they don't feel good about themselves. It is not a great way to start the school year, repeating a course you just spent all summer in and an exam that you weren't successful on. So you want to think long and hard about what you're asking your child to do. And secondly, you want to think about the message that it sends to colleges when they see on a transcript that you skipped courses. Because while you think it might show colleges that you are a go-getter, some people could interpret it as you're willing to take shortcuts to get ahead. That you might not be as successful in college, because we know algebra is the #1 indicator of success in higher level math, and here you skipped that. And so maybe there are gaps in your learning. Maybe you won't be as successful. Again, the best way to really show colleges your passion, the best way for kids to spend their summer learning, is to not try to learn a full year in a summer. It's to really take a course that's designed to fit in a summer, that's designed to teach them during the summer. This is why Dr. Steck's offering marine science for those scientists out there who really want to explore their passion, and have it on their transcript as a course that they took that was above and beyond. This is why we offer Introduction to Data Science or Introduction to Discrete Math. There's 4 summer courses. You can take one every high school summer and show that your child's the one that does extra and does more. So again, really think about option 2. We offer it because we have to, but it is not recommended. It is not something that we can get behind. Now, that said, the computer programming course actually does work very well. And Dr. Ray's not here tonight, so I'm just going to throw that out there that if your child's really into computer programming and wants to take both AP courses in high school, they can take the computer programming, the intro course between 8th and 9th grade, the summer between 8th and 9th grade. However, they have to start that course in March because in order to get numbers like this, where there's like 82% success or 80% success, they really need to take the Johns Hopkins course, and there are 2 courses, and they need time to do that. That's the only option 2 that you're allowed to start before June the 1st, and it's really the only one that we have found gives a firm enough foundation for future success. So again, that's option 2. Just really think about why you would want to do it and what message you're sending to your child, to colleges when they look at your transcript, and how you're setting your child up for the future, because we want everybody to have the best foundation and the most learning possible. Thanks.
Okay, so we have monitoring the Q&A here. We are going to have our counselors from High School South each take some of the frequently asked questions. But before we get into those, I did notice there were just a couple for our that were kind of directed towards our supervisors. One that came up repeatedly, Dr. Steck, is biology the only choice for 9th grade? Can you address that?
Yes, thank you, Jessica, for that. Yes, biology is the only choice for 9th grade students. It is, I said, a multi-level course. Students can choose either the honors level or the CP level. Much of that is based on by their second semester performance in 8th grade. And I would strongly recommend that you consult carefully with your child's school counselor as to which level is most appropriate for your child.
Great, thank you. Okay, and Dr. Warren, I know you said this, but there were some questions about world language eligibility and kind of almost like a repeat of what's on the slide. Do you want to just talk a little bit more about what the letter that is going out to families will have about the other information? Because that's coming soon, right? I think coming in the next few days.
Yeah, we're given a nice coming attraction for it now. You and I reviewed it, and that letter will be coming home to
Perfect.
families real soon. World language is fun because where, Dr. Stuck can say like it's biology or biology honors, world language, we're proud to offer multiple languages, and we provide classes that are based on proficiency level to meet the kiddos' needs. So there are a lot of options for world language. I really do just invite you to reach out to me. If you have a specific question, I saw in the chat a couple like my child moved here in such and such a year, and that's great. Reach out to me. I would be happy to get on the phone with you and talk through that with you, or connect you to your child's teacher to help make sure that your child gets placed in the appropriate class for them. And then for all other families, a letter is coming home. Some folks ask like, we don't speak Chinese at home, but my child has been going to Chinese school for years, or we are a part of the French American Society of Princeton and we've been studying French for years, though it's not our home language. We've never taken it in school. Can we take a placement test? Yes. That is why we offer a placement test, because we want to make sure whether you took the language, if you didn't take the language here in WWP, but you have proficiency in language, great. We're ready to put you in the right placement. We just have to take that placement test so we know. So you'll receive a letter from me in the coming days, and just reach out to me or your child's teacher for any information. Thank you.
Thank you. And then just a couple other themed items, two questions that I just want to underline. A lot of questions on who can you talk to? And so Miss Greiner is the 8th grade counselor at Grover, and Mrs. Burgess is at Community, and they are available and should be your first line of contact. We say that your child has a counselor assigned every year, and until they are done with 8th grade, the first person to contact. Again, you heard the supervisors talk a lot in placement. We want to talk to the person who knows the most about the content and the performance in class, and that would be the teacher. And certainly questions about how do we weigh these decisions, what looks right, what advice can you give, that kind of thing. That would be talking to the counselor. And the other question that came up a couple of times specific to meetings and things on the timeline in terms of a process of what's happening is a question. Yes, the meetings that will be in March will be one-on-one conferences to confirm the elective choices with the student and the counselor. They are pretty rapid fire because we get through hundreds of kids in just a 2-day period. So it's not I don't want to give the illusion that we have a long period of time with everyone, which is why we really say have those conversations at home and come up with any questions that you have, because if there's information that you need to want to find out as a parent or a guardian, you have time to do that in these next 6 weeks, because it's a confirming meeting. They are talking about answering questions, but also confirming the elective choices. So, okay, I'm going to let Mrs. Walsh kind of lead us in our next section here. Mrs. Walsh is our lead counselor at High School South. You can take it away.
Great, thanks, Jess. Welcome, everybody. You heard a lot of information tonight. And just as a reminder, all the counselors went over to the middle school today. We met with your children in a large group and also smaller groups, and went over a lot of this information as well, provided them with a scheduling worksheet and the middle school scheduling book with a lot of information that's specific to 8th graders. We answered tons of questions in our department. And so we sort of put together a list of what we call our frequently asked questions. Some of them were already in the Q&A and have been answered, but we're just going to highlight a couple things, maybe just in general as far as course selection goes. So one of the decisions you'll have to make is level of courses, college prep level or honors level, and what am I eligible for, and so on. So one of the frequently asked questions is, should students take all the courses they are eligible to take? Our eligibility is quite liberal. We don't try to keep students out of classes, but that doesn't mean that it's always a good idea to take every single class you're eligible for. You'll learn in one of the other frequently asked questions that you're never stuck in a track. So when you're deciding your course level, you need to really think about balance and transitioning into high school. High school is meant to be a journey, your own personal journey of growth. So you don't need to dive head in the first year and struggle and then not have time for your extracurriculars or to find some joy in high school and some of the activities and so forth. So you should, rigor is important, personal rigor, whatever's rigorous for your child. For some students, it may be, 3 honors courses. For another student, it might just be trying 1 honors course because they think they really love history. So they're going to try it in history, which is kind of the best way to determine where you should maybe take that leap of faith to take a higher level course. So also the demands of high school are a little bigger or a little different, I should say, than middle school because their extracurriculars take on more time. Athletics are on the weekends. If they're playing a sport, they're staying till 6 p.m. every night. There's not teams. And so one of the things that we brought peer leaders over to Grover today, and one of the things the peer leaders said was their biggest adjustment is when they got to high school, sometimes they would have 3 major tests on the same day because there's not really a coordination as much as there is in middle school where there's a team and so forth. So they might have a few tests on the same day and so forth. So there is a transition and it's a little bit different than high school. So the most important thing is to recognize balance is important, being able to take time to do the things that you enjoy, and then recognizing that your rigor can grow as you go through high school. And that's actually a really great thing to grow your rigor rather than to start where it's difficult to handle. The next question, Megan Erico.
Hi, good evening. It was great to meet all of the 8th graders on our caseloads this morning. So it was a nice change and to get ready for them coming up next year. So my question totally piggybacks off of Mrs. Walsh's question. If a student does not take an honors level course their freshman year, can they take an honors level course in the following year? And the answer, of course, is yes. I always like to quote Mrs. Walsh in this section. She has said that it's a journey of growth, and she just said that, and that is truly what this is. And colleges and post-grad are looking for a change, to show the growth, to show the challenge. So of course you can take an honors class the following year. It's always important to understand the challenges in doing so, especially with math or a world language or science, really taking that step up. And the different workload and the expectations. It's important to follow the program of studies and to know what grade, as Mrs. Walsh was saying, with eligibility to have to move into the honors level. You can always have a rocky marking period and then, figure that out. And maybe that's how you show growth and then you head into that honors level. Colleges like to see that growth, and it's valuable to remember that the CP coursework is still extremely rigorous, and that honors courses just have a different level of expectations and maybe require a little bit more independence. So those are just some things to think about. It's always a good idea maybe not to take all honors freshman year and then to show that growth sophomore year. So of course that is something that is allowed, most definitely. I'm going to pass it off now to Mrs. Ficini.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Antonella Ficini, and I'm really excited to be here tonight. And it was great to meet your student today at Grover. The question I'm going to answer is study hall mandatory for all students? And the answer to that is yes, it is mandatory, but it's valuable time that's built into the school day for students to do the many things during that time. For instance, a student can work on assignments alone or with their peers who share the same study hall. A student can prepare for assessments during this time. They can utilize our media center and the many resources there. A student can attend music lessons or choir lessons. And for those students in AP science classes later on in high school, it is when they will have their scheduled lab component. A student can meet with teachers if that time aligns with their prep period to catch up on work. For instance, if they were absent from a class. A student can attend peer group with their assigned peer leaders in 9th grade, which we highly encourage. And finally, but equally important, a student can take a break and relax. And this is great because it allows them the opportunity to recharge, to regroup, to reset for the remainder of the day. And so the ultimate goal is for students to use this time to be productive and free up time after school to participate in clubs, sports, and other valuable activities. And so now you will hear from Ms. Smith, who will answer the next frequently asked question.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be here. And I have to tell you, today was a great day and you have the best group of 8th graders. And I was so excited that they were listening and participating. They were cooperative. So having said that, I'm hoping that they I brought home the booklet that we handed out to all of them today that gives you some of the information that I'm going to address in all the electives that are available to freshman students. So not every elective is available to them as a freshman, and there will be more choices once they get through their freshman year. But pages 4 and 5 of that booklet are very helpful, and they will give you the list of courses that they can choose, and they should choose a couple of them, as was already discussed, in the categories of visual and performing arts or the 21st century and career. And then they can also look at the program of studies to see what courses they might be eligible for later as a way to use that planning sheet. So some of them, the state requires some of them, and some of them are just things that they want to do. So make sure that you ask them for that booklet, review it together. The descriptions are also in the booklet of the electives. And when we meet with them, they can bring in their planning sheet and they can put down on the sheet the electives that they would like in the order of preference. So there are a lot to choose from. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I'm going to address the question about whether or not students can change their schedule at any time. And the answer to that question is no, they cannot change it at any time. What we told the students today is that we would be returning to Grover. So the South counseling staff will return to Grover on March 18th and 19th. We'll split. Half of us will be there on the 18th. The other half will be there on the 19th. And we'll be working with students to schedule their classes. Ahead of time, you can put in schedule requests into Genesis. So having those conversations, looking at that scheduling booklet, coming up with choices for electives and alternates. And then when we meet with your student on that day, we'll make selections and put them into Genesis officially. So the requests are not official until they meet with us and we schedule on the 18th or 19th. At that point, that'll be in Genesis and those will be their selections. If they decide they would like to make a change after that date, they can talk with their counselor at Grover, Ms. Greiner, to make a change. However, they only have until March 22nd to make that change in the courses that they requested when we came on the 18th and 19th. So it's really not a lot of time to make any adjustments. So up until the 22nd, they can talk with Ms. Greiner after we've met with them if they want to make an adjustment, and we'll speak with Ms. Greiner and make that change on their behalf. After that, they'll finish up their 8th grade year, go through the summer, and maybe during the summer they decide, I changed my mind about my elective, I want to make a change. There is an opportunity during the first 2 weeks of August for students to request a schedule change. Now, at that point, at the end of July, an email will be sent home to both parents and students with a Google form to make schedule change requests. And that's when they can make a request to change their elective, or if they decided they wanted to change a level in one of their other classes, they can request that as well. For elective changes, we cannot guarantee that it will be available to make the change. It really is based on availability. So if we get a request to change in electives, we'll look and see if we can make that change in the student's schedule if there is availability in the course that they're requesting. So it really is important for them to take the time now to look through, go through the elective descriptions, and really make a sound decision on which electives they are choosing. So one of the things we talked about with the 8th graders today is really reading the descriptions, knowing what's in the course, and if they have questions, definitely utilizing that time with us on the 18th or 19th to ask questions about those electives, because there really only is a small opportunity to make changes. After that point, once the school year starts and after that 2-week window, there is no time to make requests to change electives. The only changes that could be made are in those mixed level classes, language arts, social studies, math, and science. And they can change their level up until October 15th. So really limited times and opportunities to make changes. So doing that research now and doing that background and really looking through that scheduling booklet that we gave them today will be helpful so that they're making sound decisions when they go to schedule. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Parrott.
Thanks, Ms. Javik. Hello, everyone. I'm Brooke Parrott. I was so excited to meet our future pirates today at Grover, and I hope they were as hyped up about it as we were. My question tonight, you've already heard a lot about. Mrs. Bean has done an absolutely phenomenal job in providing you with a ton of details, but I will still once again clarify for you because I know it's been a popular one that's gone through the Q&A. And my question is, do all students need to take an option 2 course? And I think you've heard a resounding no and plea from us as counselors, supervisors, staff here that no, this is not a requirement by any means. As counselors, staff, we hate for our 8th grade students' first real experience at High School South to be in one in which is a pressure-filled exam. So we'd love for them to think very carefully about the reasons that they would potentially need to take an option 2 course, and there's really never ever truly that need per se. So reasons that you've heard for taking an option 2 course might be if a course isn't offered at High School South. In years past, we love to use the example of marine biology, and Mr. Steck has gone and stolen our thunder by offering a really cool class like that over the summer through WWP. So maybe they do that instead. Another potential reason may be to fulfill an elective, but we're awfully creative as counselors and we will work with our students to find ways to make every little thing fit. So that's part of the course planner that your students have access to. So please don't feel as though that's a reason that you must do so. If you do still decide to take an option 2 course, you need to be very careful about all those deadlines and the nitty-gritty in submitting your application prior to March 31st. Before registering for any course, you must receive approval. So please, please hold off on doing so. I know there's definitely pressure from some course providers that you need to do so quickly or classes may fill, but you need to have that West Windsor-Plainsboro approval before you do so. And as Mrs. Bean indicated, we're looking at only 1 option 2 course per year. And over the whole time at High School South, only 1 course per subject area. So those are kind of the biggies. I won't belabor stuff that Mrs. Bean has already reviewed so beautifully. You can also consult with our program of studies where they have that information detailed there as well as on the district website. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Alberto. Mr. Alberto, you're muted. We can't hear you.
There we go. Can you hear me now? Okay, sound like that commercial. All right, let's start again. I'm Mike Alberto, and echoing what the other counselors have said, I want to thank you for sending us such fantastic kids today. It was a great experience for me and for them. I think they were well behaved, they were engaged, they looked like they were enjoying themselves. And I want to compliment you on doing such a great parenting job with them because they're really great kids. My question that I'm looking at today, are clubs and volunteer opportunities available to students at the high school? The question is yes. We have many clubs. We have clubs that are teacher run. We have clubs that are student run. And of course, we have all the athletics that you heard about earlier. And then there's also the opportunity to look into the community for volunteering hours also. We do have some clubs such as Red Cross that involve volunteer hours, so you can have clubs and accumulate volunteer hours through the school. And the best way to look for clubs, activities, sports is for your kids to find what they're interested in. That's where they're going to have the most fun. That's kind of the point of clubs and activities, is to have fun and then to kind of delve into their interests in a different way than in the classroom. Are volunteering hours required? No, they are not required for graduation. Some colleges like to see them, especially the private colleges, but I haven't seen any that are mandatory yet. And just a reminder, we do have a club fair in September also. So when they start up high school, we'll have a club fair in school, and they can look on the website at the list of clubs. And again, just a reminder for them when they're choosing what they're going to participate in, aside from their academics, to make sure there's a balance where they can put the time into these things, do them well, enjoy them, and still get enough time to eat a meal, rest a little bit, and have a good night's sleep. And I am going to now pass this over to Mrs. Rooney.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging on the call. We know that there's a lot of information, but I want to ditto what the other counselor said. We had a great day today at Grover. And my question's about the supports in place for freshmen during their first year. And I think today is a great example of us kicking off our supports with the counselors going down and bringing our peer leaders with us so that the students see right away familiar faces when they come in the high school in August. And so we kick off the year at the end of August, early September with our freshman orientation that is run by our peer leaders, administrators, teachers are there, counselors are around. We meet our students there and we really show right away our support for them in kicking off the school year. Moving forward, ninth graders have the opportunity to get to know their peer leaders through peer group. Those peer groups happen every month. They're timely. They talk about things going on in the school, whether it be academics, the experience of extracurricular activities, maybe the things that are going on in homecoming. So that is also another support for them. We also offer a homework tutorial program after school. So as the students start to engage in the school year and start to get into their academics, if they need a little bit more support in completing their homework or with their study skills, we do offer the homework tutorial program. Additionally, our teachers are always very, very helpful, very supportive. I actually was a freshman teacher for many years. They are all very welcoming. They recognize that transition. So they provide a great amount of support to our ninth grade students in the transition. Along with us counselors, we mentioned this earlier, that we have a study hall period. We have a common lunch. This provides the opportunities for students to meet with us as well, and for us to give them support during that time that does not take them out of an academic period. We also have a student assistance counselor on staff. We have UBHC. And so there's a lot of supports to help students in that transition to high school and obviously throughout all their 4 years. So please rest assured that they will definitely have a lot of people around them and rallying around them for their success at high school. I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Walsh, who will wrap up with our last frequently asked question.
Thanks, Ms. Rooney. So I'll just reword the next question, which is like, wow, what's next and what do I do with all of my questions? Hopefully you got a lot of your questions answered tonight. But we are lucky to have your children that were so great today, but you are also lucky because you have an amazing 8th grade counselor. And when you get to South, you have an amazing counseling team as well. I'm not really at all biased, but it's true actually. And so Miss Greiner is really your contact person now with your questions. I actually was speaking with her after our session today because students were already going into her wanting to ask questions and so forth. So as proactive as she is, she's already reached out and she's trying to set up some meetings during class time with some of the students in smaller groups and stuff. As she's really, has very well-versed in the high school scheduling process too. So she's your first line of contact. She is your line of contact, and we maintain regular contact with her too. But Ms. Greiner is the person that you would reach out with all of your questions. And then as answered in the chat, we will be going over March 18th and 19th. And just a reminder, the deadline for scheduling for course selection is March 22nd. You can't make any changes. So the 8th graders have lots of time to think about it and little time to change their mind. So that's why you got a lot of information tonight to kind of process. And then you have the next several weeks to have these conversations with teachers, with the counselor and so forth. And hopefully when we go on March 18th and 19th, you can make some really solid choices to set your child up for success. So thank you for your attention on this long evening, and we appreciate you. I'll turn it back over to Jess Smedley.
Okay, everyone. Let's just gonna check and see. Yeah, I guess we can just end on the frequently asked questions. So we got a lot of the questions answered. Again, you got to hear from everyone today. This is just the beginning of the process. I just want to echo what Mrs. Walsh just said, which is that you want to have, I can't say enough times, go through this program of studies booklet, go through the 8th grade packet. If they didn't bring it home, you can ask them to bring it home printed. It's also available on the website. There was a question I just wanted to address that I talked a little bit actually more to the students today, which is the worksheet. And someone asked, how do you fill out the worksheet? It's really a planning document. And one of the things that I think is important, again, with balance is, but you can guide those questions at home of read the program of studies, you read it, the kids read it. What are you interested in? Talk about it over dinner, talk about it on the way to a practice or in the car or something. I know it's sometimes hard to get time to really, to have with the kids, to have these conversations, but it is important. What kinds of classes do you see? Ask them, what prerequisites do you see listed in the program of studies? Like if you have a really big interest in this particular science class, what are the courses that you need to take in to be able to be eligible for that? What does your summer look like? What's the interest in these summer classes? And maybe, if they have a big interest in that, and just engage in those conversations, because the turnaround time for, again, think of the high school counselors are coming to the middle school to solidify and finalize the decision. It's not the only conversation that can be had. If they want to talk through like, how would I look at this worksheet, or can you tell me more about this class, that they would go to Miss Greiner, and Mrs. Walsh and Miss Greiner, I'm pretty sure, have each other on speed dial at this point, and we'll be seeing that through. And I have all the confidence in the world that if Miss Greiner can't answer a question that and needs to get backup or phone a friend, she will get that information to you as quickly as possible and be here with you. So we are all part of the team that is going to guide this transition to the next level. And I look forward to seeing everyone again when we have freshman orientation. And so in the meantime, I wish you the best as you go through this. There's a lot of exciting 8th grade activities and just natural transition times. And we look forward to addressing you and your children as officially as the class of 2028 in just a few short months. So strap in, it's quite an adventure, and we look forward to partnering with you. And on that note, I would just want to wish everyone a good night. Thanks for coming. And remember, all of our documents and tonight's video will be posted on the website by the end of the week or early next week. So take care. Have a great night, everybody.